All right, y'all. Let's get started. We are live, and this is going to be a great one. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So come on and get situated. This is nuggets for the sound musician, or you don't even have to be a musician, but these are nuggets that very well could serve anybody. And so we're going to talk about something today, the importance of just understanding like the roots come before the fruit that you see. So before I get going, let's give some updates. We have a show coming up on the 19th. What's going on? Welcome to the stream, y'all. We got a show happening at Scat Jazz Lounge on uh, the 19th, whatever the 19th is. Is that a Friday or Saturday? Scat Jazz Lounge. Hey Siri, what day is the 19th? I just, I know it's on the calendar. Okay, yeah, that's a Saturday. So I'll have my group, we'll be performing 8 o'clock show and 10 o'clock show. And it's gonna be good. I am so excited, y'all. It's been a joy learning, growing, being challenged, and challenging myself to be consistent and do these nuggets, uh, throughout the week. So yeah, it's been good. So let me give you all some updates. We had a great class yesterday for my mentorship program. We went over um, with my guys how to play over something. It was an arrangement of Amazing Grace that my man Cornell Gaskin put out, the late Cornell Gaskin. His album More to Come, it's a great album. And I'm on there, and it was a particular arrangement of Amazing Grace. And so we went over that. So, but yeah, we had some fun last night with that. Also, we've been talking about vision, with my mentors, and we'll be talking about business and like just setting things up. So that's been something that we've been aiming to get nailed down. What is the vision, and what is our vision statement? What does that look like? And we've been talking about that, and just from week to week, we're working towards fulfilling those things that we have in the forefront. And it's been really good working with the mentees. And if you're interested in any of that, I put the link below. It's called shed.quamonfowler.com if you want to be a part of the mentor program to get that interaction with me and weekly accountability so we can help you accomplish your goals. Okay, so on today, I wanted to talk about roots and like the concept or this whole principle, right? And I believe I talked about having a seed the last message, and I was talking about how when you take a seed and you plant it, um, you know, you have to change. It has to change, and that's what happens with us, with everything that we do, that we want to do. It's like, yeah, you can see something or admire something from afar or from the outside in. It's like, wow, that's interesting. I want to do that, or wonder what it would be like if I could do real estate, or if I could, do a YouTube channel, or if I could play at that level, or play gigs, or play on festivals, and all of those things. Whatever it is, you fill in the blank. You can see the fruit from somebody else that is doing it, but then you got to think about, okay, what are the roots? What does it call for to be able to do those things? And so we have to realize that there's um, prerequisites or even starting points. We have to reverse engineer a lot of things, and I think people get wiped out, or they realize that, man, I didn't realize it would take all of this. I didn't know I would have to go down before I can go up. And that's what happens with a seed, right? Well, like what I was talking about before, unless a seed falls to the ground and dies, it abideth alone. But if it does that, then if it dies, then it can bear fruit. And that's what happens. Like the seed goes into the ground, over time, when it's watered and nurtured, the ground is able to cause whatever is needed for that seed to open up. And then what happens, all of these different roots, go down and it spreads out. And so the thing that's even interesting about that whole concept, I remember when I was fascinated with hearing a saxophone or hearing jazz and stuff like that, my brain was trying to understand what is required, like what do I have to do? How do I get to that sound? And of course, when you actually start learning an instrument, your brain is like, oh man, what's going on? Like you're making these connections to, what you're hearing. Like you got the three different aspects that engages your brain, like the audio cortex, the visual cortex, and also the motor cortex. So you're feeling, trying to get used to the fingering, you're trying to get used to the sound that is produced when you press these certain buttons. You're trying to visually conceptualize things. You're trying to learn what the fingering of the instrument is. You're trying to learn how to read on that instrument. You're learning, excuse me, how it is in relation to the piano. You're learning and listening to professionals who've got hours and years behind them, and they can produce a great sound. You got to get your embouchure. You know what I'm saying? I can keep going on and on and on and on. And that sounds very complicated, but when you think about it, that's what happens underneath, like with the roots. You got all these different roots and things that are spreading out. It's going down and it's spreading out, but you have to go through that process and you got to be consistent. And so here's the deal. It can be mind-boggling because you remember I always talk about the 4 levels of incompetence. So the first of 4 levels of competence, the first level is unconsciously incompetent. That's where you're not even aware of what you don't know how to do. But once you start doing something, then you get informed to the point where now you know that you don't know how to do these particular things. And so the key in order to fix those things is consistency, because you're not going to get everything. You know what I'm saying? It's too much to actually digest or to nail down, right? So it's like you have to put in the forefront of your mind that I know that I want to do this, and I'm just going to put time in every day on a consistent basis. Because when you do that, then you're able to explore, and I talk about parameters, right? When you are having categories, when you practice, I talk about the 5 different areas that you can practice on to improve. And so whenever you come into a situation where you're playing or you want to practice, you come in your studio or wherever you're going, of course, when you got those things up, you can be reminded of what you need to work on. And here's the deal. I think most people, they get another to follow through with the information. Y'all remember we was talking about before about in James where we're talking about, would you go look in the mirror and see yourself, and idea to reap the benefits of them because you're not applying them. It's like you have paralysis or analysis paralysis. We're being entertained by good information, but we're not applying it. So it's like you can't benefit from it. And people do this all the time. We do this all the time. And especially if one is not ready to commit, or they're not disciplined, or they just don't want to do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I remember I was talking about how you can lead that saying that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, or you can take a fool. My daddy used to say you can take a fool to school, but you can't make him think. Also, I remember I was talking about Branford told me that his dad would says you can take a horse, lead a horse to water, but you can't make him thirsty. And I was like, wow, that takes it even a step really serious. And it's interesting because just doing interviews, when I have people who meet with me who say that they're interested to, to work with me or for me to work with them and for them to be a part of the mentorship program, they'll get on there and they'll act like they really are serious. They'll act like they really want to do it, but then they don't sign up. And so you can't never really tell, and you don't know people, you don't know where they are. And so it's just like, some people are serious and some people are disciplined and some people just not. They're not ready to commit for whatever reason. But the thing about it, I if I see that there's a skill that I need, there's something that I need to learn so I can get to the reward that's on the other side of that. Like, I'm the type of person where when I want to do something, I'm going to do it. And I talked about this, my testimony that goes into in my book, The Christian Musician. I talk about how when I learned about Joshua Redmond doing the monk competition and winning first place in the monk competition back in '95. And when I saw that he did that competition, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that competition and I'm gonna win. I had that attitude at 15 years old. When I turned 28, that's when I won the competition. I got third place. But the point is, although it took, a minute, what's that, 13 years, it took for me to actually get to that point, where I was able to win that competition. But it didn't matter. Like, I made up in my mind that that's what I wanted to do. And even the same thing with real estate. When I was a teenager, I was like, I wanted to do real estate. And so by the time I turned, 20, wait a minute, yeah, 2019, yeah. Yeah, man, time is flying, boy. 29. Is that right? Goodness. But yeah, wait a minute, 39. Wait a minute, well, how am I? Dog, I'm old, y'all. Goodness. Dang it, man, time is flying. It's a trip how time flies. But anyway, I'm thinking about this. But yeah, so in, dang, yeah, I was 39. Wow. But anyway, time, whatever you want to do, when you believe it, you got to receive it. And so the next step is to act upon what you believe. The only way you can see things through that you have in your imagination, you got to do something. We talked about this. We in their imagination, but they actually had to create it. They had to create, figure out create the blueprint. They got to think it through. They had to put in the work, put in the hours. Thing I like about Noah's story is in Genesis 6, where it talks about Noah's story, um, when it talks about how um, all of the instructions that God gave him for making the ark, at the end, it says, and he did everything that God had instructed him to do. And that really stood out to me because I was like, wow, he was obedient and did everything that God told him to do. And because of that, he was able to take care of his family because of his obedience. And so this is the thing. You realize that a lot of people are not, they're just not aware and in touch with their identity and the promises that God has for them. They're distracted. And so that's how they're not able to commit, because I was thinking, and this is a reference to a book I got called Dip, The Dip. This was Seth Godin. And so it's a picture where it shows, like a line and then it dips and then it comes back up and then it picks back up. But he was just saying a lot of people, anything that you start, new, you're going to experience that dip where you be going, you start off having all the energy, but then you're going to drop and then go down and then you're going to come up. But a lot of people, they get wiped out. They give up when they go down and they're not able to climb back up and then make it. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the root process. I heard Myron Golden talk about it because I was in one of his classes and he was just talking about the roots. You got the roots, the shoot, and then the fruit. And so, but the thing about it, you can't even get to the shoot if you're not committed through the roots, through the root system. So what does that mean? What does that practically mean? So that means if you're starting a new instrument or if you're starting a new business or if you're learning something that a new skill or you're learning about um, business, just because this is where I am now. I'll give you an example, like uh, starting a business and getting funding and being able to get grants and things, or even setting up something for your children's children, starting trusts and stuff like that. So even with that system, of course, if you're going to be doing something when you get into business, if you're not one that has come from a lot of people who had money or were wealthy who could really show you the ropes of how to structure everything, if you're not one like that, of course, you're going to go through a learning curve. There's another term, learning curve. And so with the learning curve, you're going to do that. You're going to have to learn what you don't know. You're going to have to learn from others that you know and trust, or even people that you don't know, but you give them your trust. And then, unfortunately, everybody who you seek to learn from is not going to necessarily be the end all be all person that you just follow, all the way through. I mean, you might get a little bit from this person, or you might pay for this program and you might invest in this. This might not be the right fit or something might go bad, but it's like you're failing forward. So it's like, the road is very squiggly, but that's part of what happens when you're going through the root process. But the thing about it, you're collecting data, you're learning, you're implementing, and then you'll find your niche. And the same way is true with even playing music and developing your voice. So I listen to a lot of guys. I listen to Stanley Turrentine, James Carter, James Moody, Sonny Stitt, Sonny Rollins, Johnny Griffin. I listen to all of these guys. I learned from them. I was listening to so many albums for hours upon time. I was recording. I was playing gigs. I was practicing with friends, practicing by myself, putting stuff in different keys. So it takes a lot of different things. I'm putting out recordings. I'm writing music. So when you think about that whole experience, this is an experience where I'm doing all of these things, but in the process of becoming, I'm like everything that I do is shaping me to have a certain voice, to have a certain style, to have a certain approach that's unique to me and my experience. And so what happens from you pursuing all of these things, you are able to fine tune things, cut off the things that trim the fat, cut off the things that aren't you and aren't for you and not, a natural fit for you. And then you finally arrive at the thing that is your thing. You arrive at the sound, the concept, the approach, and style or whatever that is yours. And so the same thing goes when pursuing business. You got different types of business. You got online business, digital products. You got offline business. You got physical assets, and you got different asset classes. So as you explore all of these different things, you might have one that is really one you take a liking to. You know what I'm saying? And even the whole process with getting into business and even having the ability to get funding, you got to have personal credit. Your personal credit has to be good. So you got to learn that. You got to learn how to use credit cards. You got to learn how to be disciplined and not use your credit cards to the point where you know you accumulate all of this debt and it's on consumer credit. You know what I'm saying? You got to learn the game, and so that's all prerequisites, and those are things that happen just in life. So what I'm saying is, when you're able to identify um, you know, as you're going through the process and realize that this is your roots. This is like your root system. So first of all, when you have a particular category or a particular idea, let's say, I'm real big on putting labels on things. The reason why is because when you can have a system, that system uh, can serve you to where you can apply principles to other things that you do. You can have a system and the way that you think and the way that you go about things that you can apply to other categories, other areas in your life. So a prime example, when I talk about this in my book, The Christian Musician, I talk about the whole system, and the gifting is the way that you think. So the thing that's so beautiful about it is, you know, the more that you're able to yield to God's leading and be obedient and to be fruitful or be a good steward of the things that He's entrusted you with, the more you're relying on that experience between you and Him, and like the process by which is unique to you to get stuff done. So, and I talk about this all the time, like David, for instance. David had his own system in a way that God was dealing with him when he was a shepherd boy. He tended to the sheep, took care of the sheep. He slayed lions and bears. Plus, he was out there shedding, playing in God and the sheep, you know, and whatever animals that were trying to attack and take the sheep. And so he had developed an approach, a style, you know, something that was unique to him, whereas his other brothers, you know, they had other responsibilities, but David was off to himself. So when Solomon came, I keep saying Solomon, when Samuel came to anoint the new king, when he was trying to find the right king, Jesse was like, well, maybe it's this one, maybe it's this son. And wasn't even considering David, but God had prepared David, and he trusted him because he was a man after his heart. He was a good was wise. He was a good musician, was skilled. He could fight. You know, he knew how to use his axe. He knew how to use his weapon of choice, that slingshot. So uh, that was God's man. And so what happens when we have that intimate time with God and we're paying attention to our own process and we're just enjoying just the pursuit and the journey as we are becoming, you know, we develop systems, we develop approaches that are unique to ourselves that we can then even monetize. We can turn that into something. And so I'm just saying, you have to submit to the process. You have to realize that, you know, before you can see the fruit in your life, you got to spend time by yourself, or you got to spend time, you know, working things out. Because if you think really, in our brain, it's like roots. Like, it's called neuroplasticity. Whenever we learn something new, it's like our brain is changing shape. You know, we can't undo what we've learned. Like if you read a book, you know, when you read the details in that book, it takes you to places in your mind and you're thinking about all the content, and the content that you're reading is reminding you of things that happened in your life. You're thinking about how you can apply things, new principles and ideas, or the stories and the lessons that you're getting from the things that you're reading. So after you've gone through that experience, you're changed, you're different. Your brain chemistry is different. When we practice, when we put in hours of practicing, when I put something in different keys, I'm learning things and my brain is different when I come out of that session. And I had the attitude where I want to be, I want to sound better after I finish practicing. I want to sound better. And this is very interesting because I was sharing with my mentees yesterday. I was listening to a recording that I did, and I was like, wow, man, my vocabulary, you know, is the connections, the way that I'm able to connect things, it's been interesting, and it's been a pleasure to hear, like, because it's one thing. Here's the thing, and I'm talking about myself, because from the outside in, inside out, and then outside in. We'll talk about the inside out. So from the inside out, and we talked about this in the podcast when I was talking with Mike Ezeno. We was just talking about when we're in the moment and we're creating. You know, we're thinking about so many different things. We're thinking about, we're feeding back, we're getting feedback from the people who we're playing with, the audience. We're probably thinking about the chords, or we're thinking about the emotion of what we're hearing or whatever. We're caught up in the spirit of the moment. So it's a different perspective when we're internally trying to create. But on the outside, when we're not in those moments where we're playing, we're looking from the outside in. We're entertained. We're being entertained because our mindset, our mind frame, and everything is different. So when we listen to ourselves, or pretty much like basketball players or sports players do when they're in the game, it's a different instinct and different things compared to when they're watching the game after they've already played, because you remember certain things that happen in those moments that cause you to react and respond the way that you did in the moment. But you can learn something from yourself when you are able to look and see. It's like, wow, I did that. Why did I do that? Oh man, that sounds good. That was a good choice. You know what I'm saying? You're able to listen to that, and then even you can make connections to the reasons why you did what you did in the moment, because it's connected to the stuff that you was listening to or the stuff that you was working on. You know what I'm saying? So that's very insightful, in-depth things that you get. But when you're just thinking about how you produce something, or the process of being able to produce something, that's like internally, I mean, that's a lot of neurocircuitry. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of different neural connections, you know, and so it's a complicated thing, but the beauty about it is the brain, we can compute and do all of these things within milliseconds. But you're only able to do those things, you know, well, or execute something or master something at a level like that, only when you've put in, like they say, the 10,000 hours. So the 10,000 hours is the roots part. You know, that's people don't see that. You know, people just see the fruit. They see the Instagram posts, or they see the YouTube videos, you know what I'm saying? But they don't really see all of what it took in order to get to that point. And so it's a beautiful thing, though. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful process. But some people are just not committed. They're not willing to go the distance. You know what I'm saying? And it is a distance. It is a challenge. Some people will just be like, you know, I'm going to just take the easy road, you know. But the thing about it, they'll sit back watching others that took the hard road, but they'll be admiring what they have. And like prime example, I was listening to an interview with my man Sean Thunder Wallace, and he's very disciplined cat. He started at 6 years old, and one of the things he was talking about and he plays multiple instruments. He started at 6. His main primary instruments was saxophone, clarinet, and flute. That's what he says. But he plays bass really well. He plays guitar really well, and he's also into like fitness and things. And so this is a guy who was able to take his discipline and apply it to learning other instruments to the point where he sounds skilled, highly skilled on all of them. And that's a rare thing that you get people who are able to do that. But it's just because of their discipline and their commitment. And that's something that you can't teach. That's something that people have to desire. You know what I'm saying? They have to want it. Or I guess you can learn it. You can learn it from watching others, but it's something that's it's something that you have to want. You can't make people want something or hungry. You know what I'm saying? That's like a God-given thing, or it's connected to something else as to the reason why a person is not wanting to commit. And so a lot of times you don't have time to get into those things, or it's like a deeper thing. Maybe it's a spiritual something, or it's something that is psychological, but you know what I'm saying? Everybody's not, like I say, many are called, but few are chosen. You know what I'm saying? People are not all at the same level. They're not ready to commit. So it's like, it's nothing personal, but I just realized that those people who get it, those people who are serious, of course, they're gonna latch arms with you and go to that next level. You know what I'm saying? So, but you just realize that everybody's not there, you know. And so anyway, but yeah, the roots come before the fruit. If you want to get to the fruit, then you got to get into roots. You got to let roots form. Whatever it is that you want to do, and learn. Like I'm doing it. I'm doing it not just in music, or I have applied it to music and my brand with my music, but I really enjoy business, and I want to. I have certain goals and visions for my business, and it's certain things that I'm doing when it comes to expanding my business and diversifying and having different assets working for me, and setting up my whole structure with trusts and things like that, because that's something that we all need in terms of having our business, having a business plan, having a vision that goes beyond you when you're gone, leaving a legacy for your children's children. All of those things we got to have together. And so I'm learning. I have some people, some programs and things that I'm participating in where it's challenging me to organize things and get things in place. And of course, one of the things that answers all is cash flow. Like the Bible say, money answereth all things. The root of evil is not money. It's the love of money. So when you do things just out of motivated by just getting money, a lot of people will do a lot of stuff the wrong way just so they can get the bag. That's not the point. Like the point is to realize that money is just a tool, but it's also a game as well. So you got to learn the rules to the game, and that's where the learning curve comes in. Because if you were never taught, if you were just so interested in just executing the skill and doing active income to where you're getting money in exchange for your time, if that's just hardwired in, when you talk about making your money work for you, that's a different concept. Maybe you just haven't learned. It's a game. You got to learn the game. You got to learn the game from those people who have been playing it like that. You know what I'm saying? And then you can learn that you can work smarter and not harder. And that information is available now. Now we just have to implement it. And so that's where you got to start taking roots. You got to go down and get to studying and learning and sowing the seed, because that's another thing that's important that keeps people that separates the people who let me see, how can I say? It's a separation from the people who are willing to sow seed. And that goes back to the whole waiting process and the discipline process. Like when you sow a seed, you got to water it. You got to nurture the ground, the seed. You got to take care of it, and it takes time. You can't sow a seed and then dig it up and see if it's working. You got to give it time. And so I've learned that even in business, it's things that I've done. I've planted seed, I've invested, I've did different things, and I've learned. And like a lot of times you're investing in yourself because you need to go through those experiences so you can learn something. If you don't sow, just like the Bible says in Ecclesiastes, like he that withholdeth, if you, observeth the wind, you won't sow. It's like you're trying to determine things by externally looking, where it's like you're not sowing, so you don't have any data or any real experience. You're just going off of the experiences of others, which you can learn, but it's just a difference when you've gone through something yourself because you've sown. You got that experience. And this goes into what I was talking about even with teaching. A lot of professors and people who have theoretical knowledge but not real life experience and application of the things that they're teaching. So it's a big difference. And then the people who you're talking to and communicating to, they know the people who are fake from the people who are real. And so, but anyway, the whole point is with seed, you got to be willing to sow seed and be willing to nurture it and really realize that whatever you sow in faith, believe that you would receive it. And like Mama Ville, when I was in Baton Rouge, she was telling me, name your seed. She was encouraging people to name your seed. And I was like, man, that's so good. And so that's what I've been on really now, is just being aware of the seeds that I've sown, the things that I've watered, and the things that have brought forth fruit in my life. And as I get smarter, learning from my mistakes, learning from the things that worked and the things that didn't, then I can fine tune things and fine tune my vision, fine tune my mission statement. You know what I'm saying? Based on the experience I've gathered. But the thing about it, like the fruit is coming. Like you can see it. You can see it, people can see it, and you get the feedback. And then you just keep on fine tuning what you have until you can bear more fruit, and then your fruit can remain and you can be a blessing to others because you've gone through a process, and you can encourage others to submit to their process. So that's the whole point, is to let our light shine before men so that they can give glory to our Father, which is in heaven. You know what I'm saying? These experiences that I go through are not just for me to hoard. It's not just for me to keep to myself, but it's for me to share. And so that's what I do here on the Nuggets for the Sound Musician when I go live here. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. Hopefully this was helpful. And once again, if you want to lock arms with us and be a part of the Sound Musician Mentorship Program, you can go to shed.quamonfowler.com. That's shed.quamonfowler.com. We do our business meetings on Thursday, so I got some great stuff to share this week. And we're continuing to just chip away at things and get closer and closer to fulfilling our purpose that God has for us. Okay, so that's it for now. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already, and share this if you loved it. Leave me a comment, and I appreciate all of your feedback. And if you want to connect with me, I left my information there, the number, my email, and also the website, shed.quamonfowler.com. But that's it for now. We'll see you. Peace.